Hey, Sheila, good morning.
Good morning, Wayne. How are you today?
I'm doing well. And you?
I am doing super.
Excellent, excellent. And welcome everyone to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we explore the fascinating world of verbs and their impact on our daily lives. Join us each week as we delve into the different ways verbs shape our language and influence our activities, as we attempt to make a positive difference in our world, one verb at a time. And Sheila, what might our verb be for today?
Today's verb is to hear.
To hear.
To hear. Hear.
Okay. And do you have a trivia question today?
I do have a trivia question. But I know you do too, so let's hear yours first.
Okay. My trivia question is, what is the best way to really hear what someone is saying?
Okay.
And I'll give you the answer at the end.
Okay. I have a trivia question, and mine is, who was the very first artist to cover or to sing I Heard It Through the Grapevine?
Oh,
I know you know that, but we'll answer that at the end as well.
okay. And Sheila, how can our listeners find you to give you comments or questions?
Thank you. My email address is zekeandsheila@yahoo.com.
And my email address is wayne@mindsyncing.com. That's MINDSYNCING.com. Please.
There.
And as always, all compliments and
Right.
good words go to Sheila.
Me, to me.
Send all the nasties to me.
To Wayne. Not true.
And what did you come up with the definitions for here?
I've got two. And the first is to perceive with the ear the sound made by someone or something. I'm pointing to my ear as I'm saying that definition.
Okay.
And the second one is to be told of or informed of.
All right. And I have several more.
Okay. As always, I hope that's the case.
As always. I bore everyone with all my definitions, I know.
Not at all.
Here we go. To receive or become conscious of sound using your ears, to be told information about something, to listen to someone or something with great attention or officially in court, to listen to what someone is saying or sounds being made, to gain knowledge of, to take testimony from, three more, to receive information, to receive communication, and the last one, to express approval. And I was a little confused by that one, to express approval. And then they gave the example to go, oh, yes, I've done that many times. When you do a toast, and the retort, sometimes it's here, here.
Okay. Good.
Yes. So there we go. And now, initially, your thoughts on here, what were you thinking?
I thought there was going to be so much stuff to cover here that we would run out of time and paper or computer. And in fact, it was a little more difficult than I thought.
I found the same thing.
Really?
I thought, yes. I thought here, there's going to be many.
Tons of stuff.
Ways to go down here. And this was a challenge.
Oh, well, we like to rise to a challenge.
However, the challenge panned out because I searched and read, and I found an article that was just, oh my goodness, apropos.
Great.
Yes. So where did you go? Or would you like me to start? I'm easy.
I with that buildup, I would like you to start.
Okay. All right. I went to Forbes. I landed on Forbes. I find,
I hear you.
I went through I went through many articles, and I found one on Forbes that I just absolutely loved. It's called, the title of the article is Receptiveness to Opposing Views, a Make or Break Leadership Soft Skill. And it's by Esther Choi. And she talks about all the things that we wanted to I guess, get into what here really is. She talks about receptiveness. And at the end, I'm going to give you why this article to me was so fascinating, because that's when here is really going to come into play. So anyway, she starts off with an example. she says, now in a team meeting, your co-founder, and let's say the co-founder's name is Christina, keeps harping on the one moment of the presentation where she feels like your team lost a prospective client's interest. Who hasn't done that?
Right.
She says, you hear her point, but you are ready to strategize on how to move forward and continue building your relationship with this potential client. You feel she's wasting precious time of your whole team rehashing the same point. And as you're reading the room, you can see from their body language, the other team members are starting to shut down as well. And so they were hearing something, but they weren't liking what they were hearing, and they were just tuned her out. Here's another example. She says, during a work party, you hear two colleagues raise their voices when the war in Gaza came up. This scene, sometimes between your two work friends, both of whom you respect deeply, triggers your fears. It's like, okay, this is going to get out of hand. I can see that right now. So at your own family holiday parties, you decide to avoid any kind of conversation with aunts and uncles who hold opposing political views. Much like we say, we're not talking politics on this show. But she says, but you start to question, was this the right thing to do? Did I miss the chance to connect with these family members that I love out of fear? And fear of what? And she was like, oh, did I say that right? Out of fear? Huh. Okay. Well, anyway, so she says we can come up against people all the time that we disagree with. In some contexts, the outcome of the conflict may have life or death consequences. In other cases, the toll may be emotional or cause strained relationships. In the context of government or business, now we're getting to where I wanted to go, into business, the outcome could be organizational collapse or stalemate. Thus, it is imperative that leaders learn how to handle a conflict while keeping the system of their organization functioning and ever moving forward. And I heard what she said. Notice I put the here in there.
That was well done, well placed.
Notice I heard what she said, and I have seen that so many times, and I'm sure you have as well. And we have to constantly remember that, yes, even though there are obstacles and barriers or whatnot, we still need to maintain which businesses say, which is our bread and butter. While all the other things could be failing, our bread and butter needs to continue so that we can pay the bills and pay, all that good stuff, keep people employed, keep people happy, and as we move forward. So I like that. And she's also alluding to the fact that, you know what, there's going to be conflict. Leaders need to know how to manage and handle conflict and use it in a positive way. And I have been talking much too long. You didn't say the word, but I'm going to I'm going to stop here and let you go.
For listeners' sake, we have a code word that one of us is supposed to use if the other one starts talking too long.
Yes.
And we have never had to use it yet, but that's what Wayne was referencing there, hearing the word. I'm not going to say what the word is because then people are going to, do drinking games on when that word comes up. And we don't want to encourage that. So
no, we don't. Okay.
I first started just on a little fun track of common sayings and where they come from. So we have said already, hear, hear, and that is an Old English interjection that signals a cheer or a form of approval. It was popularized in 17th century British Parliament, as you see a lot in old movies, because they weren't allowed to clap. So they would say, hear, hear. And now that becomes a kind of a toast, hear, hear. Yep. So fun little trivia there. The next one is hear through the grapevine, as one of our trivia questions will point us to. But in this case, it means to hear rumors or to learn from friends of friends. And this is the best way. So in other words, gossip. But the best description I heard was, you heard the news from someone who heard the news from someone else. So, and we know how well you can trust that.
Absolutely.
The next one is, you could have heard a pin drop. And that means there's complete silence. It describes a situation that was so quiet that the faintest sound could be heard. And in fact, when I read that, I thought, why don't I record the sound of a pin dropping here? But it's never that completely silent here. So the next one is now hear this, which is an instruction. It's actually used in the United States Navy. It's an instruction to cease activity and listen to the announcement or command that will follow. So now hear this. You hear that in old World War II movies.
Yes.
Finally, not finally, I've got two more. The next one is 5 by 5, which I haven't actually heard a lot of, but you might have heard this. It's
Absolutely
a military communication, and it's the the strongest signal to noise ratio, which also means I hear you loud and clear. And do you have more to add to that one?
No, I don't. But I do know what that is because we use it all the time with communications. It's the old adage, how do you hear me? I hear you 5 by is what we say. Yes.
That's better. That sounds more legit than 5 by 5. Thank you. Thank you. Now, if I want to be cool, I'm going to say it the way you just said
it. and the retort as to if you're too loud, you know what that is? You're blowing my doors off.
Either that or you had a lot of spicy chili last night. But the next one is, there is none so deaf as those who will not hear. And this is someone who chooses to ignore advice or will not believe what they're told, often used to reference someone who says something that's prejudicial or intolerant. So those. Excellent. So let's go back to your list there.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And Esther, she goes on, and she says, so how do business leaders learn this art of receptiveness to keep the lines of communication open, keep them 5 by?
There you go.
And perhaps even persuade someone who holds an opposing viewpoint. She says receptiveness, and more importantly, being skilled in demonstrating your receptiveness. And she's really talking about hearing, but she's not saying that just yet.
Okay.
Is the foundation needed to persuade another person. To understand receptiveness, let's turn to the work of Harvard Kennedy School professor Dr. Julia Minson, she says, who studies conflict, negotiations, judgment, and decision making. Do you know, I'm going on a side here. Do you know that I took conflict resolution as there was a couple chapters in one business class that I took. So I took it in the form of a couple of chapters. Do you know there is a degree of conflict resolution and negotiation now?
You know what? I at one time was trained as a divorce mediator, so I believe that, and I think that is such a valuable, not just divorce mediation, but conflict resolution is such a valuable skill set and tool. I wish more people were doing that.
and we do it all the time, don't we? We do all the time. We do
it. I hope we do. We try.
We do it at home. We do it on the road.
Right.
Sometimes people don't hear the other part of my conversation on the road, but
I'm sure it's conflict resolution oriented.
I am doing conflict resolution extraordinaire there. Yes. Well, anyway, Esther says that receptiveness is openness. It doesn't dismiss or dehumanize people who hold opposing viewpoints. She says Dr. Minchin defines it as the willingness to access, consider, evaluate, supporting, and opposing views in a relatively impartial manner. One key takeaway from her definition is that representativeness doesn't mean you have to change your opinion or even compromise your beliefs. Rather, it's about listening and openly considering other perspectives. And I thought, I have heard this before. And so and going back to what Esther was saying, she says, think about the last conflict that you were a part of. What outcomes did you hope for? Did you hope to persuade someone to think more like you? Did you want to be understood? Did you simply want to move on? Or just did you want to keep your working relationship viable? And I said, this reminds me of a book I read called The Fifth Discipline by Peter Senge, where he talks about suspending mental models. And
Oh.
again, suspending mental models is putting out in front so everyone can see, taste, touch, feel where you're coming from because you're describing what you're saying and the reasons why you say it to give other individuals perspective from, okay, let's look at it from Wayne's point of view. Again,
Mm.
he said, I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just letting you know why I'm saying and believing what I believe and think that this might be. And it gives you that, okay, and it gives you that kind of like not a game, but more of a nudge to say, okay, well let me withhold judgment and see what Wayne's really saying and why he's saying it. So, oh, and, and I'm jumping to the part that really excited me about this,
Okay.
but I'm going to
Okay.
hold off. I'm going to hold off. I am. We're at 15:53. We're good. So I'm going to go back to you, and then we will come
Okay.
back, and I'll get to my point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Certainly, I'm looking forward to that. So, and also, I've written down the fifth discipline as a book to put on my list.
Yeah, Peter
So, thank
Senge.
you for that, Peter Senge.
Senge. Yes.
Enge. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So, of course, we've got to talk about hearing loss today. Um, 2 years ago, I was told I was a year away from hearing aids, but don't
Mm.
tell my husband I said that because he's been bugging me about getting that appointment. So, and you know
Okay.
how it is when your spouse says, make that appointment, and then the last thing you want to do is make that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Okay. So, hearinglink.org talks about the reasons that hearing loss is debilitating in your life. I've got 6 here. Probably number 4 is the most important, but in any case, number 1 is relationships can suffer with the strain of trying to cope with hearing loss, especially if there's background noise and you're so tired of saying, what? Can you say that again? And the other person's really tired of it. Can't you just hear me? Why aren't you listening? You know, the misunderstandings and miscommunications that go
Yes,
on.
yes. Oh, I don't know what that means, but yes, okay. I
Right.
don't do that here. No.
No. So the next one is hearing takes away. It's a quality of life. Hearing loss is a quality of life issue because you lose music and nature sounds and the enjoyment of sound. Television. That's a big quality of life issue. Number 3 is personal safety. Crossing roads on foot, pulling over for an ambulance
Mm.
when driving, alarms at the home at the office. For heaven's sake, someone ringing the doorbell to deliver an Amazon package so that the neighborhood Amazon thieves won't get it. It's just and when you're
Porch
walking by
pirates.
yourself,
I think the term is
porch pirates.
porch
That's the
pirates.
word I was looking for. Thank you. Um, just the awareness of another person approaching you from behind or beside. At number 5, I'm going to put the most important. I'm switching 4 and 5 here. I'm going to put the most important one last. Loneliness is number 5.
Hmm.
Your world gets more and more isolated as you, especially during COVID when everyone was wearing masks. It was especially challenging for people who are hearing impaired, because reading lips is often a compatible or a supplementary skill set that people lose. But the
Yes.
big one is recent science research has definitely shown that with unassisted hearing loss comes an increasing cognitive decline with dementia. And
Hmm.
because it really is connected to your brain, and if the hearing stops, you're starting losing some of your brain activity there. So of course, hearing aids. If this is a big list for me to say, go get my hearing checked, and anyone who's listening but not hearing, go get your hearing checked. But also, it just led into this really cute couple of web pages about hearing dogs. You've heard of guide dogs for the visually impaired, but they have dogs for the hearing impaired also, and they're so
Really?
sweet. Yeah, I'm not sure how they trained them, but it
Huh.
it 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 eliminates many of these things on the list I just gave, because you've got a relationship with you right there the whole time, and you're able to interact with people more. You can walk with more confidence in the outer world. They can alert you to doorbells and other sounds, and they get your brain and your body moving again.
You know what that that reminds me of an event that happened a little
Okay.
while ago with me.
Hmm.
I was driving like normal people do every day driving on the road. And I stopped at a red light behind two cars. And so we're stopped at the red light, waiting just like everyone else, and cars are piling up behind me. The light turns green. And the three of us, the first three, the first car in front of me, second car in front of me, and then myself, we do not move because we hear emergency sirens.
Oh.
And we're looking to see where it's coming from. And it's really loud. So we know it's close. So we're not moving. And to be sure, it was coming from our left. So at the intersection that we're sitting at and we're going straight, it's coming, we're going north and it's coming from the west position going east, west to east. So we stopped like you're supposed to. There's this knucklehead behind me laying on his horn.
Yep.
Because the light is green. Yep. And as I turned around and looked at him, he had these earphones on. And I'm sure he was listening to music and blaring.
Oh, right.
And I pointed with my index finger, not the other finger. I pointed with my index finger.
Thank you for clarifying that.
In a westerly direction. And he looked where I was pointing and he took off the headset and I saw him going to your point here. I read his lips. He said, "Oh."
You're good at that. Wow.
I'm like, wow, really? Oh my goodness. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We see a lot of that. Yeah, we are isolating ourselves with our headphones many times. That's why I always, when I'm walking my dog, I can't use any headsets or headphones or listen to any podcast, which I love to do, because I've got to be fully attentive to his behavior, or he will behave badly. I know you can't believe that about my dog.
I can't believe that. No,
I know,
not Zeke.
I know.
Not Zeke.
You're not alone.
Right.
Yep. Okay, back to the highlight of your article here.
Okay, so Esther says, she asked the question, so how do you show receptiveness? Now, the key to receptiveness is being an active listener. Okay, this is good, but because listening is an internal process, it's important to give your conversation partner verbal cues that you are listening to their ideas and considering them with an open mind. She says Dr. Minson, in her article, and her team of researchers developed this acronym. Guess what the acronym is? HEAR, HEAR.
The highlight of the article. Okay, yes. Let's hear what HEAR stands for.
So she says the acronym HEAR is to help leaders learn how to demonstrate receptiveness in conversation. Here we go.
Okay.
H is hedge your claims.
Oh.
And the example is, I think it's possible that.
Okay.
Number 2, E, emphasize agreement. She says the example here would be, we are both concerned with. And I was thinking management versus union, they both want their individuals to be paid for the work that they do. So we can are both concerned with them getting paid. Okay, yes, that's the emphasize. The A in here is acknowledge another perspective. Example, I understand that, and I'm thinking these are just so good. Clarity is very, very cool here. The last one, the R in here is reframe to the positive. And here's the example. I really appreciate it when, and I'm thinking that is so cool. So the acronym here is absolutely the key to receptiveness. So very, very apropos to today's verb. Yes. Gosh.
You know, when we were doing child custody mediation, you did want to get to the first level of agreement, which was we're here in the best interest of the children. Everybody here wants the kids to have a good outcome.
Oh, yes.
And rarely does a parent disagree with that.
Yes. So. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I learned a new acronym here.
Here.
I learned a new acronym here.
Right.
HERE and then HEAR. Here. Not here.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Anytime.
I hear you.
Ooh,
Okay. Oh,
yes.
this is so bad.
Do you have any quotes for us today? I haven't heard a quote
You
yet.
know, the only quote that I got was related to the hearing loss earlier. Helen Keller, you may remember, most people know, was an activist and an educator. In at the turn of the century, she was both deaf and blind, and a really skilled teacher taught her how to open the world and taught her to communicate. But she said blindness cuts us off from things, but deafness cuts us off from people.
Wow.
Right, right.
That's deep.
So yeah, well, and she knows whereof she speaks because she experienced both. So
Both. Yes. Yes.
yep.
Huh.
So there again, a promotion for hearing dogs.
That's it. Esther Esther says, and I'll
Yes.
end with this because I'm
Okay.
looking at the clock again,
Okay.
25.
All right.
When you are the leader of an organization, you must be able to move through conflict while keeping the systems running. We already talked about that. She says, learning how to demonstrate your receptiveness is the first step through moving through conflict, engaging with opposing viewpoints, and persuasion. And that reminds me of a classmate of mine. His name was Mick.
Mm-hmm.
Mick taught me 7 words. Doing a presentation, he was talking about hearing and listening and active listening, those things. He taught us all 7 words. And I embraced those 7 words and I transformed them to my hands. And you know how you just kind of clasp your hands together,
Mm-hmm.
as though you're just resting your hands or praying or whatever.
Yeah.
But you clasp your hands, and I extend both of my index fingers and I press them to my lips when I'm listening or when I'm in a conversation. I press them to my lips, and that
Mm-hmm.
triggers the chemical response to me of remembering what those 7 words really mean, and I'm living those 7 words.
Mm-hmm.
And those 7 words are, am I listening or waiting to speak? And that has helped me so much in active listening because
Mm-hmm.
typically I found myself waiting to speak, waiting for that
Mm-hmm.
pregnant pause. As soon as you take a breath, I'm going to jump in. But
Mm-hmm.
pressing my fingers to my lips says, Wayne, be quiet, listen, and learn. And it
Super.
was good. Anyway,
Super.
so what's your answer to your trivia question?
Well, as a reminder, who was the first group to perform Heard It Through the Grapevine? It was in 1967. It was released as a single by Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Oh, wow. And I was thinking Marvin Gaye's.
He definitely helped to make it famous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Creedence
and
Clearwater Revival, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, many of them performed it. Amy
yes.
Winehouse and Paul Weller. Yep.
Okay.
Go
And
ahead.
my answer to my trivia question is, the question was, what is the best way to really hear what someone is saying? There was a lot of articles that I went to, and the bottom line really was, stop talking.
I hear you.
Thank you. And
Well,
with
I
that,
can we end on any better note than that?
thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Wayne. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye. See you next week.
Bye bye.